And we are live. How's it going, Mets fans? It's Wardy here, and we have ourselves a breaking news segment to get into this Friday evening, and what's inevitably going to be one of two live shows here on the platform today, right here, right around 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll be back live later, closer to 8 p.m. Eastern, 7:45 range there, and I'll be accompanied by Jim Riley at Ballcap Sports as we'll further deep dive the latest on Alonso and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., especially from both a Blue Jay fan perspective and a Mets fan perspective, along with the further signing of AJ Minter and all the other rumblings. And I'm not going to be too long-winded in this first live show of two today, as I have a Bleacher Report segment live an hour from now, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, they have to prep for. We're going to talk more on AJ Minter in that show, along with the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes and more. So be on the lookout in the Bleacher Report app there. Just go to MLB News and Rumors right around 4:30, and you guys will see me there. But all right, guys, let's get into the breaking news. The Mets have brought in, yes, AJ Minter, former foe, now friend here, a longtime Atlanta Brave, is now arriving in Flushing, Queens. AJ Minter, a World Series champion during his time there with the Atlanta Braves, is now entering the Mets on a 2-year, $22 million deal, including an opt-out after that first season, so right around $11 million of average annual value, and the Mets have landed their quality Southpaw option that they look to use plenty in 2025 and beyond. Yes, this likely means the Mets are not signing Tanner Scott. No, it does not mean the Mets cannot go after another reliever still this offseason, but when it comes to the high-quality lefty arms, it goes without saying the Mets sign AJ Minter because they know that Tanner Scott is likely out of their range, whether it's AAV or whether it's term of contract. Either way, AJ Minter is the guy now over Tanner Scott. So let me see your initial reactions. To everyone watching live on a replay, I greatly appreciate that. We're going to deep dive everything that you guys need to know on AJ Minter, what I like about him, maybe what I don't like about him, why you shouldn't buy into as much with some of the struggles he had last year for a guy that still posted a sub-3 ERA season there in Atlanta, but why did he struggle with staying on the field? We'll get into that along with everything else there in Mets land, as David Stearns and the Mets are continuing their pivot away from Pete Alonso, prioritizing the bullpen, along with potentially still adding a bat still this offseason, and any other moves that could happen should Pete Alonso not find himself circling back to Queens when everything is said and done. Thank you guys so much for chiming in. Let's see. Okay, someone is yelling to look at Mike Puma. I'll check Mike Puma for a bit. I'm disappointed in the signing. That makes one of us, BR. It's definitely disappointing if you were just hoping for Tanner Scott and nothing else, but when looking at high-quality leverage arms there as a lefty that can get lefties out, there were few better available in this free agent market than AJ Minter, one of the highest quality options out there, and to pry him away from our rival, the Atlanta Braves, is certainly not a bad thing for AJ Minter, who has posted a sub-3 career ERA against, yes, our New York Mets. Let me get into Mike Puma to see if he posted anything that feels like it needs to be further noted. Just give me 1 second, everybody. See down here. Let's see. AJ Minter's addition to the bullpen likely means they won't go further in pursuing Tanner Scott. I'm hearing, again, that's common sense. That there was nothing that needed to be further added there. But all right, guys, let's get into what exactly are the Mets getting here. And Mr. not Tanner Scott, but AJ Minter on that 2-year deal. Thank you guys to all my members chiming in live at a replay. I appreciate you guys. We already got 700 plus, so I can't do the roll call as much as I would like, but I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. But now let's get into, okay, AJ Minter, what you got for me, baby? Why should I be optimistic about this move here for the Mets and getting the job done here? AJ Minter, 2-year, $22 million, 11 AAV with an opt-out after the first year. What does this Southpaw, quality Southpaw, bring to the table for our New York Mets? And what he brings is, again, quality. That is the most important thing. After the Mets lost Brooks Raley to injury last year after only 8 or 9 appearances, then going down with that reconstructive Tommy John surgery, Raley will likely sign elsewhere on a 2-year deal, with the Yankees and Cubs being teams reportedly interested in his market. And for AJ Minter, he's coming off of another very respectable campaign there with the Atlanta Braves. In 39 games, 34 innings, a 2.62 ERA, and we're looking at a 3.31 expected ERA, a 4.45 FIP isn't great, a 3.38 SI ERA is respectable, just over a 1 WHIP, but some things are notable, and the main thing is, one, his K per 9 was down almost a full 2 strikeouts. He's usually been sitting in the 10 to 11 K per 9 each year. That's why he's sitting almost 11 K per 9 throughout his entire career as a reliever there, all with the Atlanta Braves for the most part. But he was down to just over 9 strikeouts per 9 to a sub-3 walks per 9. Not a terrible K to walk ratio at all, but what happened with AJ Minter, and why did he not necessarily have as dominant of a year, and why was he not able to stay on the field? And the simple answer to that is he dealt with hip injuries throughout the course of the 2025 season. season. That limited AJ Minter's ability to be out there and be at as high leverage and as quality of a rate there for the Braves that they would have liked. Minter, what's very appealing about him is that Brooks Raley, who gave you a lot of different dimension there as a lefty reliever, which I certainly liked, a guy that can soft toss but also had decent velocity too. AJ Minter again sits right around 95 there on the heater, which I'm not complaining about whatsoever. And yes, he doesn't have the Tanner Scott heat touching the triple digits there from 97 to 100, but what the Mets are definitely getting at least is AJ Minter that's going to be coming off of an injury-riddled year, and as long as he's healthy heading into camp, their spring training, and this Mets pitching lab with everyone that they have in company, with Jeremy Hefner, Desi Driscoll, you name it, to think of how far the Mets got last season with the Danny Yuns, the Alex Yuns of the world, among other lefty options. And remember Jake Diekman, which was the absolute menace of society, is how he felt in his bullpen every time out there, other than striking out Aaron Judge at the knees. Because why? Because Judge is a bum. That's why. I'm joking. Relax, Yankees fans. I know you're watching. You'll get through this. But okay, reeling back in for a second. The Mets get themselves a quality southpaw option now in AJ Minter. And yes, he isn't the sexiest option between himself and Tanner Scott, but he's probably the second best out there. And as Michael Mayer of Metsmerize tweeted perfectly just a couple minutes ago, when we look over the past 5 seasons, there have been only 3 lefty relievers in the game that have accumulated 5+ WAR. Among those relievers have been the following: Josh Hader, Tanner Scott, and yeah, you guessed it, AJ Minter. AJ has been as quality and as consistent of a lefty option for the Atlanta Braves the past 5+ years, and now he'll be entering this Mets bullpen for at bare minimum 2025 as a guy that could come in high leverage and set up roles there for Edwin Diaz, getting both lefties and righties out at a quality rate. Fun fact, AJ actually got righties out better last season than lefties, but throughout his career, he pretty much has lefty batters sitting right around a 220 average and just around a 600 or so OPS. So very respectable numbers from AJ Minter, and I'm not overly concerned with the velo drop, knowing that there is at least some valid reasoning behind the injuries and not having the consistent flow of a normal 162 that Minter would have certainly liked last season versus the previous couple years where he was healthier for the Atlanta Braves. But let me get into some comments that you guys got for me, because I see a bunch of donos and stuff, so thank you guys so much for that. Now, as I said, I'm not going to be too long-winded in our AJ Minter breakdown today, but definitely want to get into all the key stats here. Lamar Lackey, thank you so much for the $5 holla. He says, Cohen needs to step in. Stearns with his money ball approach is going to cost the Mets. Highly disagree, Lamar, but I appreciate the donation. Tanner Scott over AJ Minter is not even up to debate. It is, however, when you look at the drastic difference in the dollars and what Scott is likely going to get. He's going to be getting starter money, and the Mets have confidence that they can get Tanner Scott production from AJ Minter at the value that they're getting. There's a difference between having this so-called moneyball mentality when you have a very wealthy owner and a team that's just being strategic on their spending. Strategy is not a bad thing. Overspending is not a bad thing. It's also how you actually have continued success without having complete turmoil where the Mets have had in previous years. But yes, I agree that Tanner Scott was the better option between the two, but do I think that you should invest almost double, if not triple the amount, and a Tanner Scott over AJ Minter for what the roles are going to be? No, I don't necessarily agree with that. So that's exactly why I could see the Mets not going there. Regardless, though, we'll find out what happens with Tanner Scott and his market in the near future. Thank you so much for that donation. Let's see here. AZ with the $5 haul says, I love this signing, and stealing a Mets killer from Atlanta is always a plus. Yep. Listen, I'm not complaining. The Atlanta Braves have lost 2 quality southpaws from both their rotation and their bullpen now combined over the past year, that being in both Max Fried and AJ Minter. 2 guys who have one commonality, killing the Mets a lot of the times out there. Josh Gray, member of 5 months, says, Wardy, didn't Mets agree to a 1-year deal with Foley? Sean Reed Foley, SRF, I'm not entirely sure. I have to double check. I'm sure. Yeah, I think Sean's back with us for next season. I'm almost certain. That happened a while ago, if that's the case, though, because I know that obviously he had an injury-riddled second half of the year, unfortunately, like a lot of the other times. Shraken, great member of 42 months, says, Trey McNeil for bullpen help. I don't foresee that to happen, but I can see why fans are calling for something like that. Cherno, thank you for the $2 holla, says, Braves fans losing their minds. Stanek next, please. I'm all in favor of a Ryan Stanek reunion. I definitely think that's feasible for this Mets team. And while I would love a David Robertson, if the Mets are not going to be going the David Robertson length on dollars to spend, I'm absolutely in favor of them doing a reunion with a Ryan Stanek, among other things. Absolutely. Unspeakable things would occur if we got, oh, absolutely, Scott. Yeah, taking the words out my mouth from my tweet the other day. Literally, I love that. But yeah, guys, AJ Minter, let's take a pan here just briefly as we do a little bit of a deep dive in his baseball savant numbers here. Shout out to Savant for all the best pitching information out there. Our pitching guru on the platform, Isaac Rothman, is actively working on a thread for his X account that I'll share with you guys, either if not in this active live stream, then certainly in our second one later today as we further break down and react to the AJ Minter news along with Vladdy, Alonso, and all the latest in Mets land with Jim Riley at Ballcap Sports. But as we see in his 2024 percentiles, we have him here there. Not qualified in most where you're not seeing exactly where he is, but all proficient, all pretty much above league average except for his extension, which isn't really his fault. It's more so just his frame and how he throws as a pitcher. Ground ball, literally every stat is, if not league average, then above league average, with the second worst being his walk percentage right at league average. So he's smack dab in a good spot there. Fastball velocity obviously dipped from where we saw in 2023, because in 2023 he was in the 80th percentile in fastball velocity, sitting in the 96th percentile. But I really do have confidence in this Mets pitching lab with both Desi Driscoll, Jeremy Hefner there, and everyone that's working there from Port St. Lucie up, beginning in spring training, getting the best out of him. Listen, his 2023 numbers, absolute chef's kiss, a thing of beauty, right? 94th percentile in K percentage, 85th there that we saw in whip percentage, 74th in chase percentage, 73rd in average exit velocity, 80th in fastball velo, 79th in expected batting average, and 85th in expected ERA there. Ground ball percentage was far worse than what we actually saw there in 2024. He was above league average there in ground ball percentage, where he was not doing the same. He was absolutely elite this year and not giving up, too much hard contact, which was fantastic. His barrel rate was right around in the 65 to 70th percentile. We look at the K percentage, we're looking the 70th plus percentile. What percentage? Same exact thing. Chase percentage, that's looking 75, 80th percentile. Average exit velocity looks fantastic as well. I mean, yeah, even in a injury-riddled year for AJ Minter, he still posted a 2.62 ERA and was, still a quality arm for the Atlanta Braves. And he's been that way with his four-seam cutter and changeup three-pitch mix. And as we take a little bit of a deeper dive into what Minter has done throughout the past couple years with the Atlanta Braves, and Tingus, thank you for the $2 donation. Tingus says, into the season without any protection for Soto, huh? No, I think we're going to do more. I still have to see it to believe it for Alonso to not return to the Mets, and I'll stand by that until he signs with the Blue Jays or whatever happens. And two, I think the Mets are still going to land another bat in the free agent market or something via trade, maybe even something that we're not talking about right now. More so because I will be the first to call for David and everyone saying that it is not okay heading into the season without Alonso and with Soto, but with nothing else. That would bother me by staying solely in-house. Wow, Minter's been in Atlanta since the start of the 2017 season. Here I'm thinking it's 5 years, but in reality, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in Atlanta. And it didn't matter how much that Mets rivalry has been the case. Money talks, and the Braves are on the decline, and the Mets are on the incline, baby. That's what we got to go with for now. But all jokes aside here, AJ Minter is only entering his age 31 season. He's been a pretty quality reliever literally since the age of 24 years old. He had a 3.23 ERA, a 10 K per nine to a 3 walks per nine in his first full year there in the bigs in 2018. And then he consistently churned out right around between 10 and 11 to almost actually beyond 12 K per nine that we saw in his tremendous 2022 season, his best to date outside of his short stint in 2020. But over 12 K per nine to a sub 2 walks per nine, a 0.64 home run per nine, to a 2.06 ERA to 2.39 expected ERA. AJ Minter was a menace, and he was an absolute villain, unfortunately, for us Mets in that 2022 run. And for the Braves, as you look at what they did there in their World Series run as well, he was a key part of that as well. Has a playoff experience, and is certainly a guy that knows what it takes to win, and knows what it's like to be with a consistent winning culture of a clubhouse. You know what I'm saying? Having a guy like AJ Minter who only knows success. That's all he knows with the Atlanta Braves. I fully expect him to not only expect that with the Mets are going forward, but to certainly help spread the word and spread the wealth around more of the players that don't have that experience. They may have been in the league for a bit, but they haven't been around a Braves culture. And let's be frank, as much as we hate the Atlanta Braves, they've been doing a lot of things right for a number of years, which is why they've dominated the at least for a number of years. And that goes directly in hand with their consistency and their mentality on always trying to win, and by all means possible, and by having just quality depth in all areas, along with their star power. They've really had a good balance. But AJ Minter has been their go-to Southpaw option for a number of years there in that pen, and you can see exactly why that is. Also something which is very impressive is that we see, if we look at the left on base percentage there for AJ Minter, in 2022, it was 76.7%. In 2023, it was 71.4%. And I understand that this is a smaller sample size, but it is significant at the same time, though. 94.2%. And left on base percentage, that's tremendous. Ground ball percentage is almost right around 50. It's at 45.9, so basically 46% there. The home run per nine was up this year in the short stint, but I think that went with the fastball velo being a little bit lower, and unfortunately for his case, dealing with the hip nagging injuries all year long. Let's see. John Harper, I'll check John Harper. We have a prediction. I think Alonso and the Mets will meet in the middle at 380. I'm not opposed to that with opt-outs. And we'll talk about that later tonight, folks, because there was one key note on the Alonso contract offer that we didn't initially know yesterday, that we found out very late last night, that I will further reiterate with you guys all later on in tonight's live stream, separately from the AJ Minter breakdown. Frank Sessa, thank you so much for the $5 haul. A great member. Happy to have you in here. If you guys are enjoying our initial breakdown on what is AJ Minter signing a 2-year, $22 million deal, right around $11 million of average annual value, with an opt-out after the first year, coming to the Mets as their true now quality Southpaw option this pen to pry him away from the Atlanta Braves. Not only give me a hell yeah in the chat, because I know you guys love to do stuff like that. If the Braves suck or something, give me hell yeah, which is funny. If you know, you know. But more so, let me know in the comments, everybody, how you're feeling about this, and smash that like and subscribe button. We have north of 1,000 viewers in here. If you guys could help us get to 500 plus likes at the end of the live show, as we are not going to be too much longer from now. We'll probably be another, I'd say, 5 to 10 plus minutes in that range. We might go a little bit longer, but I do have to get set for my Bleacher Report segment, where I'm going to be reiterating more on the AJ Minter stuff here, more on Roki Sasaki, on where things stand for the Blue Jays, where things stand for the Dodgers, and unfortunately for the Padres, where things now no longer stand, rather, and anything else that's happening. But let me see here what's happening, folks, on this news from John Harper, if there is anything from John Harper. Hold on. Okay, I agree with that. John Harper says, add Kirby Yates on a similar deal, and the Mets would have the late innings on lockdown. Minter is a nice ad, though, coming off hip surgery, but I'll keep saying it, Yates is a difference maker. Nobody hits his split, and that is true. And Mets love those splitties, those sinkers, those sweepers. They love the triple S's here in the group. And listen, I'm all in favor of Kirby Yates. Kirby Yates had himself an absolute dynamite year, I should say, for the Texas Rangers, along with David Robertson. Such a damn shame that neither of the two got even the chance to appreciate postseason play, when this was in certain ways an anomaly of a year for Kirby Yates at such a old age. It's crazy to say, but Kirby Yates was tremendous. If the Mets can bring in Kirby Yates there to be their final lockdown piece in this bullpen, I'm not complaining. No one would be complaining. So I don't know if John Harper was just throwing that out there because he thinks just Yates is a good fit, which I tend to agree with, or if there's a little bit more to this that he knows about but isn't really as much in the public eye, and we will certainly talk about that should that be the case more in tonight's show or what have you. Kirby Yates, who was actually a former Atlanta Brave, let's not forget, he had a little stint there after battling some injuries over the past number of years, and he was there, had some success for sure, but then was with the Texas Rangers last year, and bam. Yep, and I know exactly it's because of the hip. Yeah, my point. Yeah, even for a guy that dealt with having a hip injury and hip surgery, he had himself a very solid year, all things considered still. Alvin, thank you so much for the donation. Love this pickup. How you doing, Alvin? Thank you so much as well for the donation. I appreciate you greatly, my man. Happy to have you in here. Seamus, great member as always in here, says, how you doing? Happy to have you. Going up the list here, everybody. Again, thank you guys so much for spending some of your day, night, evening, whenever you're watching this with your guy, Wardy, as we break down the latest in Metsland that they have brought in AJ Minter. Going to opening weekend, you attending? I would have loved to, but I can't sit here confidently and say that I will be yet. more so because opening weekend is astronomically expensive for one. It's a bit of a hike for me, and two, it's going to be just as vital to cover it and to cover either the game itself or just post game itself here. There are definitely moments where I take the sacrifice of not going to the game to make sure I can cover it here with you guys. There are definitely going to be opportunities where I will be attending games this year that we will even try to figure out some fun events to do together this season that I'm really looking forward to attempting and getting and hopefully having transpire. But I can't guarantee opening weekend yet. I will let you guys know when I will be attending games this season, certainly in advance before, the day of and stuff like that. And I know I said this earlier, but for anyone that's first chiming in live or didn't hear me after initially watching live on a replay, AJ Minter's splits are pretty quality. That was an important thing by bringing in a high leverage, high quality Southpaw option. This bullpen was certainly a guy that can get lefties out, and AJ Minter is no slouch in that category. Now, funny enough, in his hip injury riddled year in 2024, his splits were actually better against right-handed batters than left-handed batters, but throughout his career, it's the opposite, and it's completely flip-flop. The average really didn't change, but the OPS, there's a difference on like 60 points there. Last season, he gave up like a 660 OPS or so, the lefty batters, whereas throughout his career, he gives up around 600, and both sat right around the 220 average. So he has definitely done his fair share job on getting those lefties out. And as you guys are even seeing in the highlights, getting quality batters out, like the one and only Harrison Bader, who was seen working out earlier today in Florida with not only Pete Alonso, but Sean Manaea again. So Sean Manaea, who came off pretty, happy, not only about being back with the Mets but also on his confidence in Alonso returning. I have to wonder on how much of that still holds true. And if that is the case, on how much maybe we shouldn't be buying into this back and forth negotiation we're like publicly seeing where the Mets are essentially out because of what was denied from Alonso on the counteroffer by the Mets, and how it's kind of a messy thing in the public eye, but it's purposely put in the public eye. And you have to wonder, is that for the sake of still trying to get a job done here, still trying to have ends meet and Alonso return, or is that because we really are not only fully prepared, but are fine and are cool with just that being that and us parting ways? And that is something we will highlight more on in tonight's show for sure. Kirby Yates would be nails. Definitely not opposed to a guy like Kirby Yates. I know the immediate impact that he would have in this Mets bullpen, and it would be sick. It really would be. And for those that didn't see Kirby Yates, is that we'll pan just briefly to Kirby Yates just because we know the Mets aren't done making reliever moves. They're going to add probably at least one more guy of quality. And especially if they don't bring back Alonso, it may further incline them to, instead of doing more the David Stearns way by going after guys, with more spring training invites, with having a quality upside, but also having a floor that could be not even major league level. Whereas you can go all in still for another high leverage arm, whether that's a David Robertson that we've talked endlessly about on the platform over the past couple weeks, or Kirby Yates, who, as I'm about to show you guys, Kirby Yates is 2024 baseball savant numbers are just disgustingly good. Like, they make your mouth salivate. Look at these things. Just, oof. Oh my goodness gracious. This schmuck is 37 years of age, but you got David Robertson in his age 39 year, absolute wheeling and dealing without a problem too. Look at these numbers, guys. They're just stupid here. Okay, 97th percentile in pitching run value, 96th in fastball run value, 92nd in off-speed run value, 45th in breaking run value, 100th percentile in expected ERA, 100th in expected batting average, 81st in average exit velocity, 88th in chase percentage, 94th in whip percentage, and 98th in K percentage, 95th in barrel percentage, 88th in hard hit percentage, 66th in ground ball percentage, 8th in walk percentage. So the walks, that was an issue, but that's okay. When you have a splitter that's so unhittable the way that his was this past year, you're going to get far. Four seam sits right around 93, splitty sits right around 86, and the slide piece sits right around 86 as well. What a disgustingly good season there for Kirby Yates in that bullpen for the Texas Rangers. Let me just look a little bit further here on that splitter. I know it was disgusting, but how good was it? Oh my God. Well, for starters, his four-seam fastball had a batting average of 113 for opponents with an expected batting average of 128. His splitty, 114 batting average with a 173 expected batting average. His four seam was deadly, and he threw it over 200 times more than his split finger last year. He threw his slider 6 times, so it's literally a nothing pitch right now. He was a 2-pitch pitcher last year. No one could hit him for shit. Yeah, sign me up. Give me Kirby Yates. If you're not going to give me David Robertson, give me Kirby Yates. Absolutely. I like the way you think, John Harper. We're locking in together, baby. Sign me up. I like that a lot. Guys, let me know how you feel about that. The Mets have not only brought in now AJ Minter on that 2-year, $22 million deal, but now it appears that they could find themselves maybe landing another reliever. And if that is someone to the degree of a David Robertson or Kirby Yates, I think every fan is feeling pretty darn good about where the bullpen stands heading into the year. Even if, God forbid, the inevitable injuries happen to key relievers throughout the course of the season, the Mets also have a lot of guys that they're going to have stashed in the farm there that I think could give them some quality innings when called upon. How the Mets start the year with the bullpen will be so drastically different from how they end the year in similarity to 2024. I think the quicker we realize that as fans is the quicker that we are more on board with what David is trying to do here on the bullpen construction. I'm in favor of AJ Minter. He was one of the best options out there among lefty fits, and now you look at what they could do on the right-handed reliever front. If you get one of these veterans, I'm going to be a happy camper. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, but hopefully the Mets can make something along those lines happen. With that being said, everybody, that is going to do it for our live show. I didn't want to be too long-winded with this one. If you guys want to see me talk more on AJ Minter, on Roki Sasaki, and other key news here in MLB, make sure to check out my segment that'll be live right around a half hour from now, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, in the Bleacher Report app there. Go to MLB News Rumors section, MLB Daily segment. I'm their host there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, usually around 4 p.m. Eastern, but they pushed it to 4:30 today for whatever reasons that they did. So check it out there, everybody. Hope you enjoy, and then be back here live on the platform right around 7:45 p.m. Eastern, as I'll be accompanied not long after, more so around 8, by Jim Riley of Ballcap Sports, as we go further deep dive the Vladdy Alonso stuff, along with all the other things the Mets have going on currently this offseason on the news and rumor front. Thank you guys again for watching. AJ Minter is now our Southpaw option. Let's see what